Hey guys, how are we doing? And welcome to this week's Survival Sunday. Okay, so something came up during the week and I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I think this is really, really important. And there's many of us who are out here who our main aim is to get out to the country and get some land and start a farm or a homestead or a small holding or whatever you want to say and become more self-sufficient. Sorry, I'm sorting out right, so because it's cold. It's cold, oof, and a jumper is cheaper than the electric. So we're all wanting to go out and in Scotland it's crofts and you know, wherever. Basically, we want a bit of land with a little house on it, and we want to live little house on the prairie, okay? And be away from people and just do our own thing and be ready for anything, okay? That's very, very cool. However, it's come to my attention. Oh boy. It has come to my attention that certain people in the community have been looking for places and looking for certain animals to be livestock protection guardian animals without really thinking about the consequences of said things, right? Now, native animals to this country are the ones that are here. Okay, there are certain rules in certain parts of the country, say Scotland, that has the right to roam. Now, the right to roam means people are allowed to come across your land whenever they feel like it, which means that you are not allowed to have roaming dogs or etc. on your land, which is not actually, I personally think, it's a bit of a cheek, to be fair. You know, because dogs are there to protect us. You know, they're there to protect us. They're there to protect the livestock. So how are you supposed to protect the livestock when people are coming across and walking their dogs across your land and letting them run free? Okay, so that's just my personal opinion. That is, it just, you know. So to combat this, there has been a little bit of chat in some groups about getting emus and alpacas and llamas. And I'm like, really? Really though? Really? Really? You know, really? Is that really what you want to do? Okay, so as someone who was born in Australia, lived half their life over there, and then, you know, I grew up over here, but I you know, spent a good chunk of my childhood over there, and I raised my kids over there, and, you know, I've worked over there and I've lived over there and stuff, you know. Can I just say, can I just say, it's a really bad idea. Okay, so emus grow really tall. And as much as people say, oh yeah, you can tame them, they're fine. No, they're really not tameable. It's like taming a velociraptor. Okay? It might do as you say while it has to, but it's going to do it under duress. And it'll just do it because you're the hand that feeds it. Okay? The second that creature knows it's bigger than you, you're screwed. And the second that creature realises that it's a teenager and it wants a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you're even more screwed, because they become really nasty. And it doesn't matter if you fed it out of its hand the day it came out of its egg. It doesn't care anymore. It's bigger than you, and its claws and its legs will disembowel you in a good kick. Now, I'm aware that there are emu farmers in this country. I'm aware of that. but I'm also aware that they don't have any real other animals on the farm. And they sure as hell do not let kids anywhere near them. At all. I'm also very aware that these creatures don't have a lot of room to run in. Now, emus travel miles across deserts. They have very, very high top speeds. Let me just check what they are for you. Give me a second. So the top speed of an emu is 31 miles per hour or 51 kilometers per hour. And I'm not sure that even Sebastian Coe on a good day could catch up with it, to be fair. So if it wants to come at you, it's coming at you, and you wouldn't be able to get out of its way. 30 miles an hour is where people get killed. That's death. Contact death. If a car hits you at that speed. It can be. So be aware of that. Now these creatures, they are not friendly. They're not friendly. They're not pets. They are wild creatures. Okay? Now there was a really good conversation that occurred in the movie Jurassic Park when they were talking about, flora and fauna from that era being brought back into this era, and they're saying, yeah, but they don't know that it's the 20th century. They don't know that. They're going to grow just as aggressively. They're going to do what's natural to them. And any chance they get, they will go back to their instincts. Having emus to look after your chickens is a really bad idea. Or to look after any other fowl. Birds, for those who don't realise what fowl are. Farm birds. So if you've got ducks or geese or anything like that you're wanting to keep protected, then having an emu is not going to do that. Now, I understand that livestock guardian dogs, if you're in somewhere like Scotland, is not an option. However, geese are an option. Geese are an option. Geese traditionally are the ones that protect the chickens. Now, I'm also aware that there have been a lot of geese going missing recently. But, as people get hungry, they are going to come and they're going to remove your birds. Now, it's up to you how you protect your birds. If you want to leave them out there all night, too far away from the house so you can't do anything about it, can't hear the noise when they start yelling and screaming, then that's up to you. The majority of people who are going to come onto your land and try and take an animal to eat are chancers, and they don't know quiet ways of doing these things. They haven't got experience in poaching for the most part. And they sure as hell don't have experience in having to run away from a very aggressive, very grumpy goose who's been woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning before it's coffee. It just doesn't work that way. Don't do it. Emus do run for miles. They like a lot of space. Unless you've got 500 acres for them to go running around in, I would suggest very, very strongly that you do not do this. But if you have 500 acres in the middle of a desert, in the middle of Australia, do what the hell you like. I don't care. But here in the UK, especially in Scotland, no, don't do it. It's cruel. It's like having a husky in the middle of Alice Springs in Australia. Would you do that? Would you? Put an animal that is built for the Arctic in the middle of the hottest part of Australia. Would you do it? Then don't do it the other way round. The other thing that people don't really understand is that these animals, there are not many vets around that are actually going to take them on, especially farm vets. That's a specialty creature. The chances are you're going to have to get a zoo experienced vet. So automatically you're looking at a premium every time that animal gets sick. So looking at the winters that we have over here and that you would have up in Scotland, that'd probably be every second week you'd have something out there, have someone out there looking at that creature. Do emus get colds? Yeah. Do they get frostbite? Yes. Do they like the cold weather? No, they really don't. Alpacas and llamas. People seem to be getting them to protect their sheep. What happened to getting a donkey? You know, the ones that everybody used to have when we were kids, running around the fields. There always used to be a donkey in the middle of the sheep field. Why? Because the donkey protected the sheep. They protected the sheep. It's what they did. It's what they're good at. And the sheep loved the donkey. Why? Because the donkey taught them to go to the hedge, not the middle of the tree in the middle of a friggin' thunderstorm. Donkey will look after us. We'll go where Donkey goes. So Donkey, who's not an idiot, like most sheep are, will actually go to the hedge. Will go to the biggest part of the hedge to get shelter. It won't go to the one standing tree in the middle of the field. Alpacas and llamas, again. It's not a native. It's not a normal farm animal. And you're going to be looking at specialty vets. And depending on where you are in the country, you may have to get hold of the nearest zoo. And even they may not have any experience. And if that's the case, you are up for thousands of pounds worth of vet bills for a creature that is not worth it. They're not worth it. There are better options. There really, really are. And I would encourage anyone to stop looking at exotic animals as your options. I mean, Jesus Christ, if I had my way, I'd have a friggin' croc on a leash. But you don't see me walking down the road with a friggin' crocodile, do you? You know why? I'm not an idiot. I don't want to lose my hand every time I go to say hello. Yes, there are animal trainers out there, but you're not one. You're just a human being. Normal Joe Bloggs who's just trying to set up a bit of land with a few animals and to try and protect them. Okay, well, let's protect your animals. Every night, bring them in. Bring them in the barn. Have you got a barn? That's where they're supposed to be, is in the barn at night. Bring them in. Don't have so many animals that you can't look after them all. You can't protect them. You know? Don't do that. This is the first year you've had chickens and then you're asking about getting emus. Are you out of your ever-loving mind? Think about it. There's a reason people don't do this stuff. You don't see people in Australia with pet kangaroos. No. Why? Because we let them loose. We look after them when they're babies and then they get shoved back out where they belong. Why? Because again, they can disembowel you. Animals from Australia do not like humans. They don't. They don't like you. They don't want you. You're useful occasionally. And when you stop being useful and become an annoyance, they will come for you. That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line here. Absolutely. And if you keep them in a small pen, They will go bored, they will go mad, and that will absolutely send you into a very, very dangerous situation very, very quickly. And there's been a couple of the American homesteading channels where I've seen that happen. And they've chased the little kids because they were dumb enough to let their little kids in there. Because they, oh yeah, it's an emu, it's cute. We brought it up from an egg. Yeah, you might have. It doesn't know that. It doesn't know that it's not where it's supposed to be. And it's trying to figure it all out. Please do the sensible thing. Do your research. That means if you're moving to an area that you're not used to, go and talk to local farmers. You know, the ones who still have hedgerows. I'm not talking about the single, monoculture farms. I'm talking about the smaller farms that still have a stone farmhouse, that still have, small amounts of animals that are in hedged off areas. Okay, go and talk to the farmers. They'll be able to tell you in no uncertain terms the best way to protect your animals. And I absolutely guarantee it won't be emus, it won't be alpacas, it won't be llamas, it won't be anything like that, but you're more likely to get an answer like geese or donkeys from people like that. Maybe even a horse. Teddy and I were watching a new channel this morning, and we were watching it, and I was going, we could see, because these people have moved to Tasmania, and they're talking about putting a veg garden in, and while they're doing it, they're digging up bog plants, and I'm just sitting there going, that's a bog. They want to put the veggie garden on a bog. You need to know your land. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to know what the plants are that show you where you should and shouldn't be building things, where the best places for certain stuff is. This is important stuff. You can't just land up on a piece of land and expect to know everything and expect to do it your way. 75% of the Australian desert exists because of what European men did to it, did to the land. They just came in, started ripping up trees in a country that only had an inch of topsoil, and instantly that topsoil disappeared as soon as the wind blew. So all of a sudden we've got a bigger desert and less land for people to live on. And the only way to reverse that desertification is to replant the trees and replant the plants where they need to be so that you can encourage the water flow back. Don't let that happen here. Don't make what your dream is a part of the problem. Now, I used to live in Buckfastleigh, down on the edge of Dartmoor. Lived there for a lot of years. Spent a lot of time on Dartmoor. Loved Dartmoor. But can I just tell you, everyone talks about the beast of Dartmoor, but I'll tell you what, the locals know exactly what it is. The locals know exactly what it is. I have friends who were army who did training up there who could tell you exactly what was up there. And they were panthers. Black cats, big ones. The farmers know they're there. The locals know they're there. Does anyone go walking on Dartmoor on their own? Not unless they're a tourist, they don't. Because they're not dumb. Can they protect, do they still, feed their animals up there? Of course they do. But that's part of it. Now those animals have either they probably escaped from someone's collection, or they've been set free from someone's private collection over 100 years ago. When it all wasn't any sort of kind of fashionable anymore, or someone passed away and the estate had to be sold or whatever. The point is they're up there. And they were introduced creatures that have been let loose. So now farmers are losing sheep. Occasionally you'll find the disemboweled horse, Dartmoor pony, you know. And occasionally you'll get a blurred photo. Why? Because no one ain't going up there with a photo just to take a picture of these things. Are you mad? But they don't belong here. And they do damage to the ecosystem. Which is why feral cats and dogs in Australia caught out after 6 o'clock at night, between 6 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning, will be shot on sight by the rangers because they are doing irreparable damage to the local ecosystems and the local fauna and attacking humans. And both of those were introduced species that people just let out. And people get upset by that. Well, it's a country that's taking responsibility and trying to keep the local ecosystem safe. Is that something that's going to happen in this country? I don't know. But we got enough problems going on over here in the UK. We don't exactly need rampant non-native species of animals, which is a real concern. Now, just as all of the electricity prices were going up, people were letting loose their reptiles because they couldn't afford to keep the vivs going anymore. And a friend of mine that lives in Scotland and lives in Wales used to have a channel here on YouTube, found an albino constrictor on his dog walk and went home, got a bin, got all the bits, went and saved it, took it down to the local reptile shop, and he said, yeah, we're getting loads of them. People are bringing them in. We can't take any more. We'll take this one because this one can go to the zoo, but they can't take any more because people are just handing them in left, right and centre. Well, what happens to the ones that don't? They get dumped. And those that survive, well, they survive. And they do what snakes do. And they do what reptiles do. And they may or may not meet up with another reptile that's also been dumped and has survived. And then what happens? Problem is, people don't think before they do these things, and it does cause a lot of damage. And they think, oh yeah, well, it'll be okay because I've had it since I was a baby. No. Emus, ostriches, cassowaries. Some of the closest birds to dinosaurs you'll find on this planet, apart from chickens, because they are vile creatures. And yeah, they're pretty close to dinosaurs as well. Don't do it, guys. Just please do your research before you do anything like that. Do sensible research. Think about the wider ramifications of what you are doing. And if you don't have any kind of zoo experience or big animal experience, for example, if you want to get yourself a llama, okay, have you ever kept a cow? Have you ever kept a camel? They might be okay for cooler weather as well as hot weather, but they're also mountainous creatures. They're not for the mud. They're for the mountains. I'm just saying, guys, being prepping, being self-sufficient, self-reliant, and trying to take care of yourself and your family There are ways around it. That's really cool. But be sensible while you're doing it. Don't be an idiot. You know, being an idiot is not going to help anybody. Sure as hell isn't going to help you. And if there is a major issue, like a major event, sort of SHTF style, and that creature needs a vet, or that creature reverts to type because it's scared, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's better have what is here and local and knows what it's doing. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm really saying. Just research what you're doing before you do it. It's going to be hard enough if things go south. You know, you got to remember that a lot of zoos, their doors, gates, all of that are all electronic. They're all electronic. So what happens when the electricity goes off? Oh yeah. Yeah, we're going to have fun. And that's going to be hard enough. You want to add to that by having some more on your farm? Really? Don't call yourself a prepper and go and get emo used. You're just dumb. Anyway. If you know what you're doing, do it. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't just jump in, boots and all. You're going to cause more trouble for yourself and the wider population than you ever thought that would. And come a major situation, it's not going to be worth it. And your creatures that you've got are going to end up like the panthers on Dartmoor. Don't do it. Alright, I'm going to go. I will see you guys later on. Please be thoughtful when you think about stuff, and I will see you guys again really soon. Hope you guys heaps. Bye.